Welcome to PMRC radio program.
Good afternoon and welcome to Radio Christian Voice. As always, my name is Lewis and I'm your host. And today on the PMRC radio program, we're looking at Zambia's agricultural sector, key to economic diversification. Now, for many years, the mining sector has been the main driver of Zambia's economy, but volatility in this sector over the last few years requires the country to diversify the economy as enshrined in the Economic Recovery Program, ERP 2020 to 2021. Agriculture remains the key priority sector in the growth and poverty reduction agenda of Zambia. The Zambian agriculture sector comprises of crops, livestock, and fisheries. There are three broad categories of farmers: small scale, medium, and large scale. Domestic production is comprised of crops such as maize, sorghum, millet, and cassava, while exports are driven by sugar, soybeans, coffee, groundnuts, rice, and cotton, as well as horticultural produce. Zambia covers 75 million hectares, which is 752,000 kilometers per square, out of which 58%, which is 42 million hectares, is classified as medium to high potential for agriculture produce. Today in the studio, I am joined by the PMRC Head of Research and Analysis, Mr. Sydney Mwamba. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to Radio Christian Voice.
Good afternoon, Louis.
All right, to start the program, the first question that I have, Mr. Mwamba, I would like you to just briefly explain to the listener the importance of the agricultural sector to Zambia.
Well, agriculture sector is an important sector to Zambia. The agriculture sector supports livelihood of about 85% of the total population, and it continues to be a key driver of job creation and supporting the economy. Agriculture contributes around 19% to the GDP, and it employs 3/4 of our population. Agriculture also remains as an important export earner to the country, apart from providing the backward and forward linkages to the manufacturing sector. So this is what makes agriculture as an important sector in driving the economy of our country.
All right. In case you just tuned in, this is the PMRC radio program right here on Radio Christian Voice. My name is Lewis and I am your host. As always, I am joined by the Head of Research and Analysis from PMRC, Mr. Sydney Mwamba. And we are looking at a very interesting topic today, Zambia's agricultural sector, key to economic diversification. Mr. Mwamba, what are some of the programs the Zambian government has been implementing sustainable food production and enhancing agricultural productivity as well as farmers' household incomes?
Well, the government through the Ministry of Agriculture as well as through the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries have been implementing strategic programs to try and improve the agricultural sector's productivity as well as the incomes of smallholder farmers. So some of the key programs that the Ministry of Agriculture, for example, have been implementing are that they have been implementing seed crop multiplication as well as distribution. They have also been running programs in rural seed supply through smallholder seed multiplication to try and enhance the availability of quality seed for agricultural production. In addition, the government has been promoting conservation farming to increase productivity. As you may know, some certain areas of the country have been adversely affected by the effects of climate change. In addition, the government has been promoting traditional food crops such as cassava, sweet potatoes, sorghum, and millet. This, for example, is one way of trying to increase the resilience in our economy because some of these crops actually are highly nutritious and can be grown with low inputs. Then you also realize that the government has been prioritizing research into high-yielding drought-tolerant crops as well as pest-tolerant crops, such as sorghum, cassava, and sweet potatoes. I mentioned of cassava. You may also know that this is a strategic crop for the country for now because we have the high demand for biofuel, and there's a company called Sunbed Bioenergy in Luapula, which is actually contracting quite a number of farmers in the province. In addition, the government has been implementing soil fertility initiatives to try and combat soil degradation through agroforestry as well as promotion of organic fertilizer. Apart from that, you realize that in the livestock sector, the government has been implementing programs to do disease control, measures such as massive vaccination, creation of the cordon line construction, as well as banning of livestock movement. In addition, government has been providing extension services to farmers on crops, livestock, as well as fisheries. The provision of other services such as phytosanitary services have also been ongoing to facilitate and increase trade in the agricultural sector. So these are some of the programs that the country has been running, apart from also running some small-scale irrigation technologies and post-harvest technologies, which are meant to increase productivity in the sector.
All right. Now, what are some of the notable reforms government is doing to improve the contribution of agriculture to the Zambian economy?
So the Zambian government has been doing quite a number of reforms. You may note that in the past 2 years, we have been blessed with good, favorable climate, which led to actually the increase in the productivity of the agricultural sector. For instance, the government has also been providing key support to the fisheries as well as the livestock sector. This is one way of trying to increase crop productivity as well as food security in trying to increase the contribution of agricultural sector to GDP contribution. For instance, the Ministry of Agriculture has been trying to migrate the input support program, FISIP, by migrating it completely from the direct input support system to the electronic voucher system. This is in order to try and improve the efficiency in the delivery of agricultural inputs in the country. Improving efficiency, this means that we will avoid a lot of redundancies in the system and actually remove a number of ghost farmers and ensure that the target farmers actually benefit from the program. You may also note that government has been constructing livestock breeding centers across the country to try and improve the livestock productivity in the country. This has been done so as to ensure that once these livestock breeding centers are well stocked, the country can stock these centers with improved livestock breeds, which are highly productive in comparison to local indigenous breeds, which most farmers have been using in the country. In addition to that, the country, through the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries, has also been promoting aquaculture development amongst small-scale farmers in the country. So I think these are some of the important programs that the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture as well as the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, have been trying to do reforms in order to enhance the performance of the sector and its contribution to the Zambian economy.
With that being said, this is going to lead me to my next question. What is the performance of Zambia agriculture crop subsector in the past season?
Well, as you may be aware, the crop subsector is one of the most important sector, especially that most small-scale farmers in the rural part of the country depend on rain-fed agriculture. So in the past 2 consecutive years, Zambia's crop subsector has performed extremely well, recording 2 consecutive bumper harvests with increased production of maize as well as other notable important crops for the country. The government has also demonstrated through this by increasing funding and timely release of resources to key institutions in the agricultural sector, in the agricultural sector, which has even led to increased production in the last 2 years. In addition, we have also recorded an increase in seed production in the last 2 years due to the favorable weather conditions the country has recorded, which actually is a key supporter to agricultural productivity, because seed is key in improving the productivity of the crop subsector.
All right. In case you just tuned in, this is the PMRC radio program. And in the studio, I am joined by the PMRC Head of Research and Analysis, Mr. Sydney Mwamba. And of course, our topic of discussion this afternoon is Zambia's agricultural sector, key to economic diversification. I'm your host as always. My name is Lewis. And now, Mr. Mwamba, currently, what is government doing to support agricultural diversification in crops, livestock and fisheries subsectors to boost economic diversification?
Well, you may note that from your preamble, we know that Zambia has been dominated by the mining sector, but now the volatility in the mining sector calls for serious measures to revamp our agricultural sector, which the government has been doing in order to diversify our economic dependency. So in terms of the crop subsector, government's response of increasing 2021 budgetary allocation towards the Food Reserve Agency and FISIP, reaching a high value of 86% in 2021 as compared to 2020 budgetary allocation value of 36% is a clear indication of diversifying the economy and help increase the agricultural subsector contribution to the GDP. What this means is that out of the total amount of resources the government funded the Ministry of Agriculture, 86% of the resources were allocated to finance activities for FRI, Food Reserve Agency, and the Fertilizer Input Support Program. Results of government policy responses to increasing productivity in the agricultural sector are yielding gains, as can be seen by what government has done. For instance, there's timely release of funds for agricultural inputs. In addition, there is also a timely release of resources to facilitate the Fertilizer Input Support Program. In addition, one of the things that we can see is that the bumper harvest was recorded in 2020-2021 agricultural marketing season for maize, soybean, as well as other important cash crops. We can also see the timely launch of the crop marketing exercise by the Food Reserve Agency, signaling that resources are available. So you can see that this demonstration of more investments in the agricultural sector even demonstrates the positive gains as evidenced by the increase in crop production of maize in 2019-2020 season, where the country scored 3.4 million metric tons of maize, and in 2020-2021 agricultural season, where the country scored 3,620,000. So the timely investments in the agricultural sector has led to the positive gains as evidenced by the increase in crop production of maize. Maize yields recorded for 2019-2020 agricultural season of 3,387,469 metric tons. And the yields recorded in 2020-2021 season of 3,620,244 million metric tons. This is a notable increase in terms of maize production and other important crops to the nation in comparison to the previous years. So again, notably, in order to move away from the rain-fed agriculture, government has been doing some construction In order to move away from rain-fed dependent agriculture, government has also completed the construction of the Momboshi Dam in Samba and is now beginning the construction of Musakashi North and South irrigation schemes on the Copper Belt to increase irrigated agriculture, which is key to agriculture productivity. So this will in turn be able to mitigate the climate change effects that has affected agriculture in the past seasons when the country experienced poor rainfall. In the fishery subsector, for example, aquaculture, the government has been supporting aquaculture development through a loan facility of $50,900,000 obtained from the African Development Bank and is being administered by the Zambia Aquaculture Enterprise Development Project called ZAEDEP. This is aimed at helping the development of the aquaculture. This project has led to the increase in fish production to date across the country, and notable investments in the sector, leading to enhanced GDP contribution through the fishery subsector. In addition, the political climate has provided a conducive environment for investment in the aquaculture sector, which has resulted in the increase of private sector participation in the aquaculture fish value chain, which has led to increase in the fish feed industry, hatcheries, nurseries, as well as grow-outs and value addition operators. These measures have also resulted in 13 private fish hatcheries being developed, complementing the 16 government fish farms that are already existing in the country. So again, in the livestock sector, we know that the Zambia's livestock sector makes an important contribution to poverty reduction, household food security and nutrition, economic growth and exports. Government, through the Enhanced Smallholder Livestock Investment Program, ISLIP project, has also been supporting the Zambian livestock sector through strengthening government's capacity to animal disease control and reducing the incidence of key diseases such as the East Coast fever and the contagious bovine pleuropneumonia, CBPP, which are among the main causes of cattle mortality in Zambia and affecting growth of the beef industry in the country. So in addition, government has been assisting farmers and cooperatives with improved cattle, goat, sheep, poultry. With poultry, we mean improved village chicken across the country to increase productivity in the livestock sector as well as improve household income. So these are some of the measures that government has been implementing in order to try and diversify the economy from our usual copper dependence to agriculture.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mwamba, for that wonderful explanation. Now, lastly, as we come to the end of the program, what would you urge government to continue doing to maximize the gains scored in the sector?
Louis, so government is encouraged to continue implementing programs that supports economic diversification, such as full migration of direct input support to electronic farmer input support program, as well as increased support to strategic institutions such as Food Reserve Agency and funding to research and extension services. You know, Louis, that agriculture can be a serious engine to propel economic growth if government continues to support key strategic programs that will improve our food systems and contribute to foreign exchange earnings. Lastly, increased funding to infrastructure and smallholder farmers' technologies that support increased productivity and value addition to the sector. So, Louis, lastly, government should be encouraged to increase funding to infrastructure and smallholder farmers' technologies that support increased productivity and value addition. These measures are key to improved agricultural productivity as well as contribution towards the growth domestic product, GDP, of our country.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mwamba, for coming through. And I've had a wonderful time and learned quite a lot in today's interview. To you who's just tuned in, this is where we get to wrap it up for today. But you remember to join us every Wednesday at 13:30 hours right here on Radio Christian Voice. My name is Lewis, and this has been the PMRC radio program. Before we go, any last words to the listener?
The take-home message is that agriculture has potential to drive economic diversification of our country and provide a serious contribution towards our economic growth.
All right, there you have it. Keep it locked on to Radio Christian Voice and have a pleasant listening.
That was PMRC Radio Program.